Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with Vinland Saga. Last time around we had Somewhere Not Here, where basically we were introduced to our main cast, I guess, our main crew, our family. We've got the dad, Thors, big old Viking man. We've got his young son, Thorfinn, who wants to go out to see the world and see adventures and see the land of Vin, as prophesized by Leif Erikson. And then also the loving wife, the rambunctious daughter, and the evil slave owner. That's the word I'm looking for. Slave owner, Halfdan. So, and I'm going to say it like that because it sounds better than just saying Halfdan. So, but anyway, yeah. So it was an interesting thing. We got interesting stuff with the characters and the world that we are in. Honestly, the real world that we are in, which is pretty interesting. I love how it's just like, no, this is just like the world. Like, there's no fantasy stuff in it yet. It really just seems to be pure historical fiction, and I really enjoy that. So, I guess that's it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, I should make this known, and hopefully nobody has skipped ahead of this of the intro yet. But next week there will not be a new episode of Vinland Saga. Yes, I know we just got started with this, but I'm recording this on December the 18th. I'm sure this is coming out in January, or maybe I guess this will be like New Year's Eve. But basically, I'm taking the next week off for Christmas, and because I record these 2 weeks ahead of when they go on YouTube, that's just sort of trickling down now. So anyway, next week there will not be a new episode of Vinland Saga. We'll be back in 2 weeks for episode 3, Troll. So, like always, the reaction is down in the description and in the pinned comment for this video. So why don't we go ahead and jump right into this episode of Vinland Saga. Here we go. Yeah, this is where I thought we were going. I mean, not that I knew where the story was going to go, per se, but I knew this was not going to be a happy show whatsoever. That first episode, though, man, it lures you in. Again, not even to thinking it's going to be happy or anything. It just, that first episode was so fascinating that now it's like, all right, now that we've got you, bam. Now we're gonna hit you with some, just we're just gonna scratch the surface of how far we can go in this show, I feel like. But again, I mean, the historical value of this, I really, really enjoy it, honestly. Like, again, this is something like, this is something that, I might show my dad, just on the purely a historical aspect, because there is just no fantasy elements in this at all. And I don't know when the last time I watched a show like that was, like, I get the feeling there are shows out there like that, historical shows, I don't know this for certain, but this is kind of also the vibe I would get from, like, that show Black Sails. I know that's a really, I've heard that's a really, really good show, but I don't know. I don't really know anything about it. But this, just the historical value of it is really, really interesting, So yeah, and then let's just get to it. Let's get into, things are not going to go well. This is not a show. I mean, I would love to have a slice of life Viking show. Like, if that's all this show was just like slice of life in this little Icelandic village, That would actually be really dope. Can someone make, like, the slice of life version of Vinland Saga? I would love that, you know? Even just, like, I don't know, like, just make it like a, 5-10 episode prequel set before the first episode, you know? Like, you could easily just do that, you know? I don't know. But yeah, it begins. I guess let's just go through the notes. Let's just go one at a time. I guess there's no real point, but I wrote down Leaf Wine. I guess he's not going to be doing that anymore. Leaf is still just a really interesting character. And I'm curious, like, how much of his character is based on, like, the historical, I guess, perceptions of Leif Erikson, you know? Because I like him being, even if he probably didn't know too much about Thors, but I feel like if Thors didn't, like, tell him, everything, I feel like Leif is just smart enough, like, he inferred a lot of who Thors is, you know? And I like, that he is sort of, he's an old man, he's not, well, old, middle-aged man, honestly. He's not really, he's not really a warrior, but he's traveled, And I like that sort of, aged traveler aspect of him, where, he can look at all these situations and he understands what's going on. So I enjoy that. And it's interesting. Okay, so when is this episode gonna be uploaded? I guess this is going up on New Year's Eve. So, there we go. I guess this is going up on New Year's Eve, so we're kind of just in time for his line of, like, I want to get some wine before the new year to celebrate the birth of Jesus, Essentially, Leif Erikson, he's out here ready for Christmas. Which, again, we're 1 week late on Christmas, but we're not on New Year's, so let's all have some wine tonight for New Year's. I don't know. I'm not even a drinker, but still. I don't really drink, so... But still, it's just an interesting thing. But, of course... and, of course, that's an interesting thing of, like, the fact that he mentions, like, me and my friends were going to drink wine to celebrate the birth of Jesus. But also, then there's the mention of, Odin is in a good mood this morning because, the waves are calm and everything. It's like, I don't know. I want to say, what was it Beowulf? Was that the movie? This is a weird reference, probably, but there was something like that in a movie once where they were, like, praying. It was like, it might have been Beowulf because they would have been talking about Grendel. That was his name, right? Grendel? Yeah, Grendel. And they were like, we must try to pray to the gods that, Grendel doesn't destroy our village, basically. And I think, like, one of the priests was like, or one of the holy people there was like, should we also pray to the new Roman god, Jesus Christ? And it's like, it's an interesting thought, I don't know. But this is really, it's just so interesting. But then, yeah, we had, the main thing of this episode, Floki, and again, I'm going to have to be very confident in how I say these names. Floki is at least, like, I get that, and it's just the name Loki with an F, so at least I get that. Well, we'll get to the other guy in a bit, but Floki shows up, which... So I'm assuming, especially with the ending, because, like, at first it's like, boy, you're really going out of your way to get Thor's back, But from what I gather, it's not even that. It's just they're gonna get some supplies. It may not even be. It's just like they just want to, they're using the war basically as an excuse. Although there seems to be a war. All those naked men were murdered by the English, Those big, muscular, naked gentlemen. And all the naked women, and all the naked children too. They just went in like Anakin and just killed them all. Not just the men, but the women and the children too. Anyway. But yeah, so it seems like that is happening, but it's not that, they genuinely want Thors to come back. It's like, this seems like it's some sort of, revenge thing for Floki. Like, you dishonorable deserter, we're gonna kill him. And it's like, I mean, at that point, why didn't you just kill him there in the village? Like, when the whole village is there at the docks, why not just kill him there and then take the stuff that's in the village? I don't know. The only thing I can think is if there's some, reason... If there's some reason, maybe he can't bring himself to do it, or, maybe that's dishonorable for his men, because his men... They're crazy. They are stern. They stand there and they just are, they're like rocks, They're like big boulders, basically. They are unmovable. So maybe it's just that, that's not what they do. But, Askeladd, which is, I'm going to say that for a little bit, his men, who are just more than willing to just chuck axes at Christian priests. Maybe, it's not really dishonorable for them. Or maybe it's a thing of that it'll at least spare the women and the children, It'll spare the women and the children, and the elderly, basically. But all of those boys, basically... Those boys and Thors, they'll all end up being killed, and then just take their stuff. I guess that's it. Maybe it's a mercy for the village. But still, what is the motivation? What is the motivation? I mean, it could even be that, the master or whatever did want them to go get Thors, and, he maybe probably hates Thors now, so he's just going to have him be killed, and then just say, well, he resisted, so I killed him. And that's just that, I don't know. But that's a problem. That is a problem. And all those boys, and they're boys. Let's be honest, they are boys, Thors is a man. And these guys, they are boys happy to go to war, No, it's not. You're gonna die. Maybe you will mercifully be killed early. I don't know, But it's exactly, what I feel like, it's exactly like, towards the beginning of Attack on Titan, where you have all of them being, well, not all of them, but a lot of them kind of being eager during their first battle, and, it was the battle for Trust, wasn't it? And then just immediately they're swinging out there in their ODM gear, and they're like, let's have a competition to see how many Titans we kill, and whoever gets the highest, and then just dead, most of them dead, most of them dead, eaten, Errand. He's a different case altogether, but that's beside the point. But it's just that's not... this is not going to work. Don't be excited about this, you boys, Speaking of boys, Thorfinn, he's too eager. He's starting to radiate a little Eren Yeager energy. I'm not gonna lie, which he didn't in the last episode. But it's but now it's his frustration. His frustration. Honestly, there's a little bit of Sokka in him. We talked about the comparison to Avatar just in Thor's design, but I could see, like, there's a bit of Sokka in him where it's like, granted, Sokka and his story is a lot different, but I can see kind of like that. But here, no, it's more of just the frustration, and he wants to go out, but he's exactly like those boys, he doesn't get what's happening, And, I guess there's an argument to be said of, like, when Thors is like, well, we have no enemies. There's no one, there's no one who we should hurt. And it's like, well, I feel like you could make the argument of it, at the very least, you need to defend yourself. You need to, which, I mean, I'm sure Thors would, but it's like, you need to defend yourself. You need to defend your family, your wife, your daughter, the village, your son, your tiny son. So let's not exclude him in this, the people you need to protect. But on the one hand, he is right. There's no one you just need to go out. You don't need to go pick a fight, basically. And Thorfinn is very eager to go pick a fight, basically, So yeah, so it's an interesting, turn, because I mean, we see in the OP, which is why I was expecting this sort of, time skip, but maybe it's going to be a little bit, which is fine. I was expecting this kind of time skip because we do see him, like, getting older in the OP, but maybe, who knows, maybe it'll be like, instead of just a time skip, between one episode to the next, maybe we'll just see a steady progression of his age throughout this season. That'd be interesting. Sorry. Apparently Crunchyroll has a timeout thing now, so it just went to the thumbnail they show on there, so it distracted me for a second. What was I saying? But I guess, there's an argument to be made on both sides, I suppose. But I mean, an argument more leaning toward Thors, like, you don't need to do this. You don't need to go to war, So yeah, so it'll be interesting to see, like, what happens after this, because especially, if Thors dies and it's a sort of, maybe even just an Uncle Ben moment, like, how that will shape Thorfinn, I have no idea. We'll have to find out. But yeah. And then, yeah, we had the twist, the reveal at the end that Floki wants Thors dead. And so he's got Askeladd, which is how I'm going to pronounce that. Because it looks like, the way it looks like Askeladd. But, again, it's like saying Halfdan. Maybe it's my American accent, I don't know. But it's like, I have to like, Vikingify it, So I'm going to say Askeladd. That sounds right, like Halfdan, Halfdan, So I'm really trying. This is actually going to be the struggle of watching the sub, and I wanted to watch the sub specifically because, the other shows that I'm doing, I've got Mob Psycho right now, but that's about to end, and the show I want to replace it with, I was going to watch the dub of, but I'm now trying on the channel here to have at least one show I'm watching in the sub, so I decided, we'll watch Vinland Saga in the sub. But now this is the struggle, is how do you pronounce their names? So, but again, it's still really interesting. I love that there's just no fantasy element in it whatsoever. It's just a pure historical thing. And if you've watched my Doctor Who reactions, I love pure historical stuff. So, even if this is going to be dark and this is going to be depressing, but I'm interested. I'm very interested. As another reminder, we'll be back in 2 weeks on January the 14th. January 7th if you're on Patreon Early Access. But January the 14th, we'll be back with episode 3. And yeah, I'm excited. In the meantime, Merry Christmas, even if it's a little late. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I will see you guys next time. With all of that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist with all of my Vinland Saga reactions, as well as another video you can go click on if you want. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.